Okay, in this video, we're going to go over how to use Microsoft Forms to do your homework assignments. Now, don't forget that when you're doing your homework assignments, you're going to want to go ahead and take notes on what you're getting right and wrong while you're checking the correct answers, because we're not just using these forms to do homework. We're using these forms as a way for you to rehearse and practice, to check on your understanding, see what kinds of mistakes you're making, and then correct what you're doing. So there's a couple of things we have to talk about in terms of what I will accept as answers. Now, this is the new learning schedule, which we talked about. In the first part of the schedule, basically, I do in-class lecture. I give you the questions up front that you're going to need to do for homework, and then you're going to go ahead and go home and do independent note taking, and then complete the Microsoft form after you've basically gone over the slideshow twice, once with me and in class, and once while you're doing your independent note taking. So by the time you do the form, you should be pretty close to getting the correct answer. After you submit the form, each time you do a question, you're going to have the opportunity to look at what the correct answer is. And then you're also going to have an opportunity to make sure that you go back and correct your answers. And so let's take a look at how that gets accomplished. Okay, so on the next slide, it's going to walk you through how you go through this step by step. Okay, one of the things that you're going to need to be able to do, I'm pretty sure all of you would have had to have done this, is you're going to need to be signed on to your Microsoft account to access these. And that's your school account. And the only reason I really use that is because if I use your personal emails, like on a Google form, people's names that I need for the grade book are not necessarily associated with your Google account. So we use Microsoft Forms primarily because this allows me to see who is actually submitting work with your real name so that when I go to collect the grades and put it in the grade book, it's correct. Okay. So when you are doing the homework, every day where there's a homework assignment, you will see a forms icon. Okay, so this is what the forms icon looks like on Microsoft. These symbols are hyperlinked to the individual assignments. So you're going to click on that hyperlink. That hyperlink is going to take you to the form. You're going to fill it out, and then you're going to save your form for later editing. So I have these forms enabled, except for your final one before you take a test. These forms are enabled to correct you as you go, and then also allow you to save your forms so you can go back in and change your answers. Okay, your forms have to be completed by the due dates, and that is mostly for grading purposes. So if you're going to edit, you need to edit before I close the form. Okay, once your form is edited, you have to go through the whole form while you're editing, go all the way to the end, and then you're gonna resubmit it before the due date. So let's take a look at what this looks like. So I have a form all ready to go. Okay, you're gonna go ahead and fill the form out. So I'm gonna go ahead and walk you through this. I'm gonna go ahead and fill mine out. Okay, now it says I got the right answer this time. If you get the right answer, it's going to say excellent. If you don't get the right answer, don't panic because these are written answers. So that means that if I so much as put too many spaces between these two words, the computer is going to say, oh, your answer doesn't match the one that Yedowitz typed in as the right answer. And so we think you're wrong. Okay, so let's see what happens if that happens, right? So I'm just going to type in gobbledygook. I put in submit and it says, this doesn't match up with what the answer actually says. So what I want you to do during your note-taking process is I want you to look at the correct answer. If you think you're getting it right based off what I typed, that's fine. You're going to have to just wait for me to manually go in and grade it and give you credit. Okay, I will manually check all these answers because I'm going to be looking through them anyway to see who's actually doing the homework and who has misunderstandings that I think I need to address with the whole class. Okay, so if you think your answer is the same as my answer, it's just worded differently, that's great. You're going to hit skip. If you think your answer is wrong, or you have a misunderstanding, or you left something out, You're going to write down which question you're on. See how right here it says you're on question 2 out of the 20 questions? So you're going to write down your notebook. I need to go back and fix answer 2. Okay. Here's what the correct answer is. While you're doing your initial form, though, you're going to go ahead and hit skip. Okay. So I'm going to fake all of these answers. It's going to do this to me every time. Every time I get one wrong, I'm going to check the correct answer. I'm going to write it down in my notebook and I'm going to correct my misunderstanding. I'm going to hit skip and I'm going to keep doing this. Now, some of these will have multiple choice. Multiple choice, it will tell you right away if you're right or wrong. You can actually get that one graded by the computer because I have the correct answers on the multiple choice questions set already. Okay, so this is a little bit of a pain because if you only have one thing to edit, it's going to make you click through the whole thing every time you edit it. Skip. Okay, now I got to the, no, skip. Okay, then we get into the multiple choice questions. I'm not giving you the right answers to these. This is a real form you have to do for homework on Tuesday. The multiple choice will be the easiest ones for you to get, corrections on because it'll tell you right away if you're right or wrong. And well, I guess you could at least figure out which ones are wrong based off the answers I'm putting. Okay, we get to the end. This is important. At this end spot, you have 2 options. If you want to go back right away because you already sat there and took the notes and you have time to finish the homework right now, you're going to hit recap. Recap's going to allow you to go back and change your answers immediately and then do a final submission. If you want to go back, and I would say that you should click this either way, you're going to go ahead and say, I'm going to save my response so I can edit it later. So let's talk about how you get to that. So now if you save your response, it should show you, because you should be signed into your Microsoft account. These are all my Microsoft forms. Some of them, it has it marked, right? So this is a form I made for you guys to do. And this is a form I filled out. And it tells me when did I turn it in, et cetera, et cetera. I can go into this form. Excuse me, I can see whether or not I checked the right answer. I can see what the right answers are and what my answers are. And I can go ahead and decide to edit my response. So same thing, I would click edit and I have to submit the whole form again. Now, if I have decided that it's time, this is the due date has passed. And we're going to go ahead and change the settings and say, nope, I'm not taking responses for these forms anymore. Okay, so one of the things I want to see is if once I close the form, if my filled out form will not allow me to edit anymore. Yes. So at that point, when I close the homework, you won't be able to change your answers anymore, but your filled form will still be saved on your Microsoft profile. So you'll still be able to go back to these questions and look at them if you have misunderstandings, if you want to study for a test or a quiz, or if you want to see, what were the answers to this. Also, I chose this background of the cloud background. It's kind of annoying. I kind of like it, but if you find it really annoying, do you see this button up on the left-hand side? There's a little pause button. So if this is moving is really driving you crazy, just hit pause and it will pause the live background and leave it still for you. Okay, you can do that at any point while you're using the form. I assume that Microsoft realized that that might annoy people. Just be happy I didn't pick the one that plays music the whole time you're working. I don't know why anyone thinks that's cute. It sounds obnoxious. All right, so that's the basics of how you use Microsoft Forms. So when you're in your account, let's just be clear how you access your Microsoft account. I'm going to go ahead and sign in. So I'll make sure screen sharing is showing what I'm looking at. Yes. All right, so if you're on the Yonkers Montessori webpage, yes, I know. I'm working on my day off. Okay, you're going to go down to the main page and click on Outlook. When you click on that, that's how you're going to sign into your account. Okay, now I'm signed in already, but you're going to need to sign into your school account, which means that you need to maintain your password because if your password is expired, you're not going to be able to sign on to your homework. This dot menu all the way up in the left-hand corner, the app launcher. Do you guys see where the mouse is? Okay, you're going to click on the app launcher and you're going to click on the Microsoft Forms icon. That's going to take you to all your filled out Microsoft Forms. Okay, and it'll say filled form. See how this one says filled form? These are the ones that are completed. These are the ones that you can go in and look at what you did. Okay, but once I close the form, you won't be able to edit anymore. So just keep that in mind in terms of timing out when you're doing your homework. So probably the smartest way to do this is if you're doing your notes and you're doing your form and you're trying to get it done all in one go, is to just click on recap and fix your answers right away. But if you think like, oh, geez, now it's late and I got to go and I have basketball or whatever, you can go back in and edit them. What I'm going to do is leave them open for about 2 days. Um, and that will allow you to go ahead and edit your responses. But once it's closed, you won't be able to go back. So one more quick note before we end this video. During the first set of Microsoft Forms that I gave, I had people go in and copy and paste my correct answer into their answer. As you can probably anticipate, I did not give them points for doing that. Okay, the point of this process is for you to create your own understanding of the concepts. So you cannot go in and steal my answer. I want to see you write your own answer. I want to see you correct your own answer. Okay, so if you do that, it's a zero. Another thing that will get you a zero. I know in general what your language use is and the way that you say things. Okay, I had a person give me a response that said, the beginning of the response started with sure, exclamation point. That's how Chat GTP responds when it answers questions or any other AI program. You ask it a question, you'll say, "Hey ChatGTP, can you explain blah 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 to me?" And it will say, "Sure." So immediately I knew that that person had typed the question into artificial intelligence. Okay, you're not allowed to use AI to do your homework. If you're using AI to help you clarify something, I find AI actually sometimes gives really good explanations, but generally speaking, it uses vocabulary and sentence complexity that you guys don't use. So if I can clearly see that the terminology you're using, the sentence structure you're using, et cetera, is probably not your writing, I will give you a zero. And you can argue it out with me later, but the best thing for you to do is just do your own work. Okay, so I'm not dumb. I know what Googled answers look like. Google was invented during my lifetime. So please do your own homework. Every single one of the homework assignments is done with by me personally while I'm sitting there with the slideshow open. So I'm basing the questions directly on the materials I'm giving you. That means that you should be able to draw those conclusions based on the materials you have in front of you. You shouldn't need to go on and Google things unless you're trying to find a way to make this go faster. If you do that, you're basically making it so that the study process doesn't work. It also ends up taking more time. If you do your homework that way and then I give you zeros until you go back and edit it, and then the assignment closes and now you still don't get a good grade on it, you just wasted time. You did not make this better for yourself. Okay, so don't fight me, is basically what I'm saying. Do the process, give it a try. If you're willing to do the process, I think you're going to find that you're learning and you're doing better. So I just have to ask you to engage in the full process. Okay. All right. that is the end of learning how to use Microsoft Forms. If you have any other questions, you can ask me about it in class. But this should have given you a pretty good outline.